The 2025 Edge class is absolutely loaded with talent this year. There's a little bit of everything in this class, with a mixture of speed, power, and finesse. There seems to be a bit of a debate on who the top edge rusher in the draft class is. Tennessee star James Pierce Jr. is a player who has a ton of speed and impressive pass rush tools, but may be a bit undersized for many in the NFL draft community. The other player in the mix for the top edge guy is Texas A&M's Nic Scourton, a player who has made an immediate impact for the Aggies since transferring, and in many people's eyes is the most polished edge rusher in the draft class. Where does he rank in this absolutely loaded group? That is what we will be going over in today's video. But hey guys, if you guys are new to the channel, consider hitting that like and subscribe button. Also, be sure to check out my Patreon page, where for $5 a month, you guys will get exclusive access to my draft guide, player interviews, and prospect evaluations. It is some of the best work I've ever put out, and I highly recommend you guys check it out for such a small fee. Leave a comment and let me know which players you guys would like to see in the next video, and without further ado, let's get into it. Nic Scourton started his collegiate career at Purdue. He was absolutely dominant as a sophomore for the Boilermakers in 263 pass rush snaps. Scourton finished the season with 42 total pressures, 8 sacks, 28 hurries, and 6 quarterback hits. He had a 90.9 PFF pass rush grade, which many people view as PFF's most accurate metric. When he entered the portal, he was immediately viewed as one of the top names available, and he was quickly picked up by Texas A&M. In his first 2 games for the Aggies, Scourton has 4 total pressures, 1 sack, and 3 total hurries. He has showed some dominant reps for Texas A&M and is viewed as one of the top defensive players in the draft class. The first thing that really stands out for Nic Scourton is his exceptional athleticism and size. He's listed at 6'4", 285 pounds, and he does not move like that in the slightest. He has an incredible first step off the line of scrimmage, and he plays with a ton of quickness in his game. At his size, Scourton dropped back into coverage at times at Purdue last year, and he showed some incredibly fluid movement abilities and athletic tools that teams are absolutely going to fall in love with. I think the biggest difference maker between Pierce and Scourton is going to be run defense. Scourton was remarkable as a run defender last year at Purdue, and he has brought some of those same tools with him to Texas A&M. Over the last 2 seasons, he has 43 total run stops. He does have some missed tackles from time to time, but he does a very nice job at crashing downhill and making splash plays in the backfield, which is something that I absolutely love to see. I love to see a balance between pass rush and run defense, and I think Scourton does bring that. The last area that I really like about Nic Scourton is his overall pass rush tools. Scourton is primarily a power rusher. He has a strong bull rush and an overall strong lower body to push the pocket and create pressure. But he is more than just a one-dimensional player. While he is still developing more pass rush moves, what he does showcase is an elite spin move, where he leverages his length and is able to create pressure. He has some elite pass rush upside and tools, and I'm really intrigued by that. Now, one of the big things that I think he needs to improve on is he does get too reliant on his power, and I do think he needs to improve his tool bag as a whole. He does have a couple of go-to moves, including his spin, which we talked about, but he is a bit too predictable at times, and he has a clear weakness. I think he does need to add a few moves in his arsenal to make him a more dangerous pass rush threat, because if not, I think teams are going to be able to scheme around his weaknesses, and that's something that you don't want to see. The other area that Nic Scourton can certainly improve upon is that he does get overly aggressive as a run defender. We mentioned it a little bit earlier, but he does have the tendency to overextend and miss more tackles than I would like to see. He has a 19% missed tackle rate over his collegiate career, and he does need to do a better job at consistently wrapping up in the backfield. Scourton is a super intriguing player. He has run defense upside, He has some tools as a pass rusher, and he's an overall elite athlete. With that being said, he is my number 2 edge rusher in the draft class. I want to see more consistency from him in terms of his hands and his pass rush moves, and I'd like to see him get a little bit more bend around the edge as well. I do think he has some issues. That being said, he's still a top 10 player in the draft class, and I might even take Scourton over James Pierce, who I have as my number 1 edge rusher, simply because the run defense aspect is something a little bit greater. The gap between Nic Scourton and James Pierce is very slim, and I think Scourton is an absolute monster. In terms of a scheme fit, Scourton is an incredibly versatile player, but I think he works best with his hands in the dirt. I think he profiles best as a 4-3 edge rusher. He works best at crashing downhill, winning one-on-one matchups with the tackle, and playing the run, which I think a 4-3 scheme allows him to do a little bit more of. He has a lot of size too. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays a 3-4 end at the next level, but I think he works best on the line of scrimmage rather than detached as a 3-4 outside linebacker. My player comparison for Nic Scourton is Los Angeles Chargers defensive end Joey Bosa. When Bosa is healthy, he is one of the best run defending edge players in all of football. Both of them are fantastic pass rushers and have freakish size for the position, and I think Bosa has kind of become underrated because he's dealt with a ton of injuries. But I think in terms of size and traits, both Bosa and Scourton have some very similar characteristics and play a very similar type of football. Nic Scourton is a supreme athlete. He is a player with elite tools and some great size off the edge. He's been an elite player at the collegiate level, and I think he needs to improve in a couple of areas, but overall, I think that Nic Scourton will be a top 20 pick in the 2025 NFL Draft.